Good morning, my beloved. It is 7:30 again Central Time with the time change. It's still 7:30 Central Time. It is the one thing I wish Benjamin Franklin would have left alone. I don't know about you, but many people are struggling to adjust to the time change. It's just another day. Hit the ground running, it'll be okay. I want to talk to you today about necessary endings. Dr. Henry Cloud wrote a book called Necessary Endings, and he wrote other books. He's a young man, very brilliant, very gifted young man. And he wrote this book called Necessary Endings, and I'm on my second time through it. And man, it's just a well done, brilliant book about things that just need to come to an end. Ideas, maybe jobs, even relationships that need to come to an end. We don't like endings, but necessary endings are necessary. There are times when you need to let go of something because it's no longer beneficial to where you're going as a company. It's no longer beneficial where you're going as an individual. Sometimes you need to say enough. I heard a man say one time, if you gave somebody $50 and you never saw them again, it was a good investment. And I think there's some real profound truth to that. That there are times when you need to realize that relationship is not beneficial to you. That where it's going needs to change. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean divorce or you can't. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it just means we need change. And one of the things I love about this book is he talks about the three different kinds of people on the planet and how you need to deal with them differently. And he talks about the first person, excuse me, the first person being the wise individual. Scripture says when you correct a wise man, gets yet wiser. There are individuals that when you say to them, hey, did you know when you do this, it makes me feel this way? Or do you know when you do this, it makes people think this or not want to be around you or whatever? And if that person is wise, they are hurt by it, maybe, but they realize the benefit of it and they change, they grow, they stop that particular thing. So there's the wise individual. And then there's the fool. Now, I don't like the term fool, but I understand where he's coming from. The foolish person is the one who you've talked to and talked to and talked to, you've threatened, you've just, mostly though, you've just talked. I'm not going to talk to you again. And you talk to him again. I remember a young lady that came in here, a single mom. She was raising this little bitty boy, and he was all boy. He was everywhere and everything, opening up drawers, picking things up. And she would say to him, let's just say his name was Jimmy. It wasn't, but Jimmy, put that down. Jimmy, don't touch that. Jimmy, I'm not going to talk to you again. Jimmy, don't make me get up. And Jimmy barely even looked her direction. But when she stood up, he hit the ground on his butt. He knew a spanking was coming. And so we got to talking, and little Jimmy got busy. Pretty soon he wasn't listening to what we were saying anymore. I said, just tell him not to do whatever it is you don't want him to do and stand up. So I think Jimmy was messing with my deer, porcelain deer that I had on my desk. And she said, Jimmy, put that deer down, and stood up. And when she did, Jimmy put that deer down and hit the dust. And she realized she'd been teaching him, I'm only going to talk to you one time. Don't make me talk to you again. But she had trained him to wait until she stood up. That's when he knew she meant business. So we had to come to a necessary ending in don't talk to him again, again, and again. And that was Dr. Henry Cloud's idea on this, the fool. You've talked and you've talked and you've talked and nothing changes. Now it's time for consequences. If you don't get help, I'm leaving this relationship. If you don't stop coming in late, you will no longer have a job. There are consequences to their actions now, and we're not just talking anymore. It's a necessary ending. And most of us have been through some really bad endings where it didn't go well, but even if it didn't go well, if it was the right thing, it's still the right thing. I have a friend who doesn't fire anybody. I love it. He says, I free up their future, which is a really nice way of saying they weren't working where they were at. They could spend a lifetime being miserable, never getting any better, never getting a raise, never coming to fruition, and just end their days just existing in life. Or we can free up their future where they can look at their life and maybe take a job that's more in keeping with their gifts and their talents and their calling, and they end up living a completely different life, fulfilled, energized, and even thank you later for letting them go so they could get to their next future. The next thing that paid more money was more in line with what they were geared for. And now they see that they needed to step away from where they were so they could step into what God had planned for them. Sometimes it's just a new idea. Maybe you need to let go of an old idea. It's a necessary ending. I have to stop thinking the way I've been thinking. I have to stop doing what I've been doing if I want something to change. So, my question for you today is, what is a necessary ending you may be facing? The reality of where you are at and you are stuck here means you need a necessary ending. You need to do something differently so that you can end where you're at and begin the next. What is your necessary ending? If it's a relationship, I would ask that you would pray about it, maybe get some counsel, and not just abruptly leave or, call them whatever you comes to mind, but that you would think about, okay, this relationship isn't going well. Maybe they're wise. Maybe you can correct them and they will make the adjustment. Maybe they're the fool. Maybe they're the one that you've talked to and talked to and talked to and they haven't changed. Maybe instead of ending the relationship completely, the ending would be, I'm not going to talk anymore. There's going to be consequences. And then the third person he calls is the evil person. And he says you just need to avoid them. You need to break contact with them and you need to go on. Evil people are evil and you need to stay away from them. And I believe there are people on this planet who are just evil. They don't have anything good in mind for you or for me or for anybody else but themselves. They just have evil in their heart. They want evil for you. They want you to fail. They want you to implode. They want you to not succeed or whatever. And we just need to stop trying to get those people to change. They're not going to change. And so the two people we can work with, though, are those who are wise and those who just need consequences so that they can have an aha moment and change. I know as a man, most of us men are really slow to the party. It takes almost the wife packing her bags before we can see there's a real problem. But that's a necessary ending. We need to stop being ignorant of what's going on and hear what she's saying or he's saying and maybe go get counseling. Be willing to go get help. Get willing to let somebody speak into our ideas and thoughts, our marriage, our job, whatever it might be, so that we can have a better ending, a better future. So if you don't do anything, my encouragement would be that you would read the book. He's got other books, Boundaries, which was a really good book. I think he did with a guy named John Townsend. They had the Minith Meyer Clinic, which was fabulous. Just did an excellent job of helping so many people. And this book, Boundaries, was a good book. But this book, Necessary Endings, was by far, in my estimation, his best book thus far. And I would encourage you to read the books. Has very, very good insights and many practical things and ideas and ways to do the necessary endings, because most of us we avoid the endings at all costs and it ends up being even worse because we waited too long. I remember a commercial that used to come on the TV that there would be a mechanic holding up a $3.98 oil filter. That's how long ago that commercial was. And then he would be pointing at a rebuilded engine. And he said, this is a $3.98 oil filter. This is a $3,000 rebuild. You can pay me now or you can pay me later. And the Lord reminded me that it's always going to cost you something, but let it cost you the $398 and not the $3,980 rebuild. You can pay it now or you can pay it later. My encouragement is pay the pain now. Make it as minimal as possible by dealing with it early on. Make sure that you say something so that if they're wise, they can change. Make sure you give consequences so if they're fool, they can change. And if they're just not going to change, then it's a necessary ending. It's beneficial that you do it now than wait till later because it just gets worse farther down the road. I love y'all so much. Let me say hi to a few folks while I'm looking here. Stuart, love you, my friend. Mary Lou, Charlie, Charles, sorry, Rick, love you guys so much. David, Jim, you guys are awesome. Hey, love you. Look forward to seeing you next Monday. Have a great week.